welcome back to the table. We are here at Adam 2023. This was a chance to get together with some other content creators and play some new games. So we thought it would be a great idea to talk about what we just played, me being myself, Emily. We have Mark here from Board Game Coffee and James from Little Meeples. And we just got done playing Inventions, Evolution of Ideas, the newest Lacerda game that's coming to Kickstarter later this year.
Yep.
What did you all think?
Amazing.
Yeah, that's simple.
I thought
Easy.
I thought it was great. Even through, like, I've only had one playthrough of this, and I've had one playthrough of Weather Machine. I think I'm gonna like this more than Weather Machine for me.
What makes you say that?
I think it's the flow of events
Yep.
of how this all works. Kind of, I guess, jives more with my play style, and how there is like this clear like chain of events that you follow per your actions that you take. Where in I guess in Weather Machine, there's a lot. You kind of have to work together in Weather Machine a bit, right?
Yes,
in
you're
certain
cooperating
areas.
a bit more.
And I'd rather just not work with any of you people. So, but I guess there's a bit of that kind of here.
There's a little bit of cooperation. I mean, the whole idea, like the whole theme of the game, this whole sharing of ideas, I think is actually really thematic to what you're doing. And I think they actually did a really good job of breaking down, okay, if you understand just how ideas work, you present an idea to the world, somebody invents it, that invention gets shared. Meanwhile, you're building up your little civilization and sharing ideas through milestones. That's stuff that we understand from playing other board games, especially like Civilization style games.
Yeah.
But I like that they abstracted it into this like Euro worker placement style game with a very Lacerda feel.
But when, like you mentioned, Civilization style games. Like I like playing Civ 6, like the PC title.
Sure.
And this has got elements where I really like the idea of like you have to learn how to use like mining or agriculture or cotton, and then once you learn that tech, then you could like bring your idea to life. Like I like this idea of presenting an idea, then you need the technology to bring that idea to life, and then you present it to the world. So the theme for this, I enjoy that a lot more than I would something like
it has a strong thematic sense of working together and creating an idea and inventing it, but you don't have to go that way. So if you don't like that sort of collaborative sense, you could just invent or place the idea and invite it at the same time and do it all yourself and just get all the glory out
there
of that.
you go.
Too.
Yeah. Emily, you're a big Lacerda fan.
I know, and we got to actually play this with Vital teaching it, so that was super cool. And the thing he said too is that while the theme is kind of like civilization building, it's not a Civ game, to be clear. And he played it with a group of friends. He said that he told them what it was, and they thought it was going to be a Civ game, and they were like, "This is not a Civ game at all." And he's like, "No, it's not. It's still a worker placement game. It's still a big efficiency game." But I think the thing that stood out for me was the combo aspect. So there's literally like these chain tokens that we have now that you can use, and you can chain them to do more events. So there's a lot of planning that goes into like, okay, I'm going to put out an idea, and when I put out an idea, I can chain that to now share the idea, and then I can chain that to go somewhere in the world and do a whole big turn.
Yeah, and I was thinking that Vital played Ganshan Clever and sat there and thought, I think there could be more to
this could be a little heavier. It's a little heavier than Ganshan Clever. But you're right, it does almost feel that way. It's not a roll and write. It doesn't have any of those elements, but it has that feel of like, I do this action, it gives me this. Oh, that lets me go do this action. Oh, and if I do this way, I can take a third action even potentially. Because it is a worker placement game, you'll see us playing these pillars here in these different forums. And what's interesting is you can only place one in a forum. So if you're taking one half of the action, you can't take the other. So you might think, oh, I put a pillar there, I'll never be able to take this action, except maybe you can take a different action that gives you a different bonus, that change, that gives you a tile or a card that then lets you play that action. And you can almost always get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and I guess what kind of separates this game from a lot of the other games is you get into like heavier resource management games. You're like, okay, what can I do?
Yeah. And
then you figure out, okay, I got this, I can do this. But in over here in Inventions, you basically tell yourself, what do I want to do and how do I achieve that goal? Mm-hmm. And then you can kind of follow a path. And like you guys helped me yesterday because I was struggling a bit, right? With like, I want to like invent this, I want to invent silk or I want to present it to the world, but how do I do that? Because that space is taken up or I can't go there anymore because I'm already there. And you're like, oh, but if you do this and you, take a guy from that card, you'll trigger that ability, you put it on here, and then you could put your chain on one of your abilities in your one of your own inventions and trigger abilities. Like there's so many different ways, like avenues to get
flexibility to detour around the roadblock.
Yeah, I think probably even more than some of Vital's other games. This definitely feels a little looser, but not in a bad way. It's actually very fun, I think, to be able to find those paths. And some of those paths take you to other bonuses. So while you might think, oh, it's easy, I can just do this action, if I go this other route, I'm actually chaining multiple things together and getting a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Who do you think this game is for? I know we've only played it once, but who would you recommend this game to?
I played it twice, actually, so, you know.
Okay, well, sir.
I think it's for the Lacerda fan who doesn't want to go too heavy, but it's just a little bit above one of his lower complexity games like Gallerist.
Okay.
So it's around that level.
Do you think someone could do this as like their first Lacerda game?
I think it's a game that is close to what people think Gallerist is what you should introduce as the first Lacerda game. This is around that same level that I would suggest it.
I would agree with that.
And the reason was because of the actual aspect of taking actions were really easy to understand. The hard part comes into trying to create those chaining combos that you talked about. So the complexity is after the actual rule basics.
Well, I'll give you that. Like when you get somebody like new, if somebody's looking to like expand to a game at this level, this does kind of draw a roadmap for you with every action you take.
Yes.
With the iconography, like
that's great. They did a great job with that.
Yeah, they did a great job with the iconography. I find actually I haven't had any problem. Like all the Lacerda games, I love the iconography. Like I thought On Mars stuff was awesome.
Yeah, I think On Mars could have benefited from something like this, and they did it a little bit in Weather Machine, where you kind of follow the numbers. I think they perfected it here by literally giving you
every single action has a step-by-step what you would do.
And I think it's great for people that like Euro games. Like we've talked a lot about the comboing. What I really appreciate about the comboing, and I think people will also enjoy, is not too much comboing.
Sure.
In that, like, you do finish one action, and the last step you can do as part of one action is to chain to another. So you're never halfway through an action. I have to pause, go do this entirely other action.
Yeah.
And then have to remember where you were. It's all done in a very
sequential order, and you can see from what you're putting on the board, like, okay, I put my chain token there. So someone could even come to the table and look and say, okay, you started that action. Oh, you must have comboed to there and comboed to there, and follow your whole chain instead of being like, what are you doing, Ryan? Some funny business over there?
I mean, I think I do some funny business. I think it's obvious to say, if you're a Lacerda fan, I think that you're going to find this amongst one of his better games. I mean, you probably will definitely enjoy it if you like Lacerda's period.
Yeah,
I agree.
Right? But the hard question, who is this not for? Other than, don't say, if you don't like heavy games, you're probably not going to like this. That, I think, speaks for itself.
I was saying that if you don't like games that require thinking ahead, like planning your next 3 to 4 steps ahead of time, then it's a little not for you, because that chaining aspect is a big boost on helping you do well. Mm-hmm. So if you can plan the next 3 moves are going to be this, 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 and this, you're going to do well in this game.
Yeah, I find like if you got it didn't happen to us much when we played, but I know if I took this home to our group, like the group I play with at home, that we suffer from a lot of analysis paralysis.
Oh, sure.
And once we start getting good with the chains, everybody's turn is like, all right, I'm going to go make a sandwich, you get a drink, and you're going to be like, okay, if I do this and I go over here, I can get a chain. Oh, I can get a chain, put that. Like, you can get locked into that.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, actually, maybe that's not the best route. Maybe this is the best route. So, like, if you have a group that you're afraid of, like, analysis paralysis might creep in and take over,
it will creep in here.
Maybe this is the one for you.
It definitely will. Even though some aspects of the game are being able, like, there's a whole tile element to placing in your civilization that you can do while other players are playing, so it doesn't slow down too much. But you're right. Sometimes you'll start to take an action, you feel like you need to back up. If you get frustrated by people at the table backing up, there's so much, like, because you'll go to do something, or you'll realize, oh, I had my whole turn planned, but I can't go there now. I need to figure it another way. But turns are pretty quick, but you're right. I think AP
And I would also say that it doesn't have as much player interaction as some other games that he's done. So I think that, like James was saying earlier, you can kind of do a lot of it on your own. It's easier if other people come in and help and, like, innovate on your ideas, or will invent them for you so that you can present them to the world and get points. But if they don't, you could still do it pretty much on your own and just like be like, here's my idea, and then I invented it, and then I presented it, and got all the tiles.
I got a note for that. Is like one thing. Yeah, I agree with what you said. And then there was, every time I wanted to do something where I needed area, like majority, I needed majority in an area, I was like, I'm good. And then Brittany would do something where I was like, now I'm tied for, for majority.
That is the strongest player interaction.
Yeah, there. So, like, I always get screwed, and it was like, she wasn't even doing it on purpose. And I was just like, all roads lead to screwing me.
So you can screw Mark if you want to.
Well, I like that there's, the player action that they do have, I like. I like that idea of, like, I can present an idea and somebody else can come and invent that idea.
Sure.
Now, it might be a little frustrating if you keep presenting ideas and, like, other people are going and like working together. Like, man, we got a little alliance. We're gonna keep doing our own ideas, and then yours just you have to do all the work yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's beneficial. Like you get benefits for every part of that.
Yes.
So it's not really a drawback if somebody invents your invention. So yeah, I think that I like the level of player action. For me, it worked really well. In fact, this whole game worked really well for me personally.
Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it.
Well, I think I'm definitely going to need a few plays where I read the rules because I learn better by reading it myself.
Yeah.
Because my biggest issue was like there was so much going on here. My focus was here. I forgot this existed.
There's a lot.
Right? Like I'm like, oh, I need to be
board.
putting these down. I forgot about these things.
I felt, but there was a couple times because you can only hold 4 technology tiles and you have to be putting them out onto the board, but they cost workers, they cost reputation points. So if you find yourself full and you like, there was one turn I think you earned like 2 that you couldn't even hold because you were still full.
James, what was your initial impression?
Lacerda games are one of my favorite design games, and I've played all of them except on Mars, which hopefully I'm going to play maybe right after this.
Ooh.
But this is my favorite of every Lacerda game.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's in that middle ground of not too complex and not too light for a Lacerda. So it's in that middle ground.
Right, it's not on Mars or Kanban, but
Nice.
it is a little. I would put it actually close to Weather Machine. I think weight-wise, like Kanban and on Mars, I think are very complicated.
But that was our first play of Inventions, and so you'll have to take a look for yourself, but if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer them below. Until then, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you next time.
See ya. Down.
Rob,
Pretty far.
So, like,
there you go. Keep that in, for sure.